Kerry is saying about President Biden's pledge to cut greenhouse gases in half by 2030.
Will we probably exceed it? I suspect, yes. I think a lot of us will wind up exceeding the predictions we're making because we're measuring predictions by the economies we have today and by the technologies we have today.
President Biden made the pledge this morning during the first day of a two-day virtual climate summit, telling leaders of 40 countries it'll create jobs and improve economies around the world. The Senate has passed a measure to combat the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes.
Democrats and Republicans came together to pass legislation sponsored by Hawaii Democrat Mazie Hirono, designed to address a surge in Asian American attacks amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
The important thing for our AAPI community is that we stand with you, and we will continue to stand with you to prevent these kinds of crimes from happening in our country.
The 94-1 vote sends the bill over to the House, where passage is expected. The legislation creates a new position at the Justice Department to focus on reporting of anti-Asian motivated crimes. The final agreement includes compromise language from Republicans who had initially expressed concerns with earlier drafts. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Funeral services held today in Minneapolis for Dante Wright, the black man shot and killed during a traffic stop in nearby Brooklyn Center earlier this month. His mother, Katie Wright.
I never imagined that I'd be standing here. The roles should completely be reversed. My son should be burying me.
The police department has said the former officer who shot Wright grabbed her gun by accident instead of her taser. Kim Potter has been charged with second-degree manslaughter. On Wall Street, the Dow lost 321. The Nasdaq lost 131. America is listening to Fox News.
Indeed is the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post, screen, and interview. All on Indeed. Get your quality shortlist of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster. Only pay for the candidates that meet must-have qualifications. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Get started right now with the free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Fox. Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
There's a sign that layoffs may finally be easing.
Economists have been expecting to see continuing improvement in the job market this spring, but the latest reading is an encouraging surprise. They were not expecting to see another improvement this week after this month's steep drop in new claims for unemployment benefits. The number of people filing last week again declined, this time by 39,000 to 547,000. And the number of continuing claims also dropped to 3.6 million. Both readings are better than forecast. However, new claims are still double the number from before the pandemic. Ginny Cosola, Fox News.
2 Florida motorcycle cops are in trouble over allegations of a ticket scam.
Hialeah officers Ernesto Arias Martinez and Armando Perez arrested for giving out dozens of tickets to drivers they never pulled over. The scheme falling apart when lawyers swooped in offering drivers legal help, only to find out they never received any tickets. One driver with 10 tickets filed a complaint with Hialeah police. Another driver who was never stopped received 6 tickets on the same day in January of 2020. She filed a complaint after receiving a letter that the state was going to suspend her license over unpaid tickets. That led to the internal affairs investigation and the pair's arrest. CJ Papa, Fox News.
A collection of 33 relics from ancient Afghanistan are being returned to the country after being seized from a New York art dealer who authorities say was one of the most prolific smugglers of antiquities. The masked sculptor.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
It's the Onion Radio News. Teen sex is linked to alcohol and drugs by the Center for Figuring Out Really Obvious Things. This is Doyle Redland reporting. An exhaustive 4-year, $23 million study of substance abuse and sexual habits of more than 2,500 American teens has confirmed that young people between the ages of 13 and 18 who drink and or use drugs are more likely to be sexually active. Dr. Gerald Eckersley is director of the Boston-based organization.
We found that this phenomenon also occurs among adults as well as every population everywhere in the world that has ever existed since the dawn of time.
The center has sent a teleprompter-ready press release of its findings to more than 400 local TV news affiliates across the U.S., along with stock video footage of beer displays and teens smoking and drinking at parties. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. It's the live call-in talk radio program where you can take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever is on your mind. If you'd like to join us by phone, the telephone number is area code 603, then 283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Mushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
And we have a whole bunch of fun stuff to talk about today. I don't even really know where to start. Not many of them segue into each other. So I guess we'll just kick things off with, well, the first one that I have. And this is from people.com. I'm not typically a people reader. Because, I don't really consider that journalism. But this is from people.com. Dave Chappelle. You guys, the Dave Chappelle show. You guys
funny man.
Funny man. Excellent comedian. What I considered to be more of one of the anti-establishment comedians for many, many years. Super funny man. But Dave Chappelle will be requiring rapid COVID tests at his upcoming comedy shows.
It's probably not Dave Chappelle doing that.
Well, Dave Chappelle Incorporated?
Definitely. Someone trying to CYA.
It says the comedian will be performing 2 shows at Connecticut's Foxwood Resort and Casino in June. Dave Chappelle is taking safety precautions into consideration at his upcoming shows. The 47-year-old comedian will be performing at Connecticut's Foxwood Resorts Casino for a couple of dates and will require all attendees to undergo a rapid COVID-19 test in addition to wearing masks and socially distancing within the venue.
Do you know what that test looks like? Like how it's physically administered? Is it one of those things that I've seen where they stick it way up into your nasal cavity?
Probably. I haven't seen one.
I'm not sure what the rapid test entails.
Right. I'd like to know the accuracy of it. Like how good are these things? Because I feel like a lot of false positives and false negatives come out of, the non-rapid tests that get sent to a lab. So I can't imagine some guy who's going to swab your nose at the door when you give him your ticket is going to be able to go, "Oh, yep, you're totally clear. You're good to go."
Yeah, and you and the other 5,000 people there.
Right, yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a good way to cross-contaminate, too.
You can apparently get these at Walgreens and CVS.
Okay.
According to a quick Google, I hate saying their name.
Googly search?
According to a quick web search.
Hey, there you go.
Yes. A gulag search. No, I'm sorry, a web search. Yes, that's right. If you just search this, over-the-counter rapid COVID testing in your hands, where you can go to get a rapid test, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of
data on that.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about how fun it probably is to try and go to a comedy show during this whole fiasco.
Okay, so you go online and you buy your ticket and you're all stoked. I'm going to go see Dave Chappelle's new comedy show, right?
Yeah.
And then you get to the venue. Now, maybe you've already got like your vaccine card because you've been vaccinated.
Ooh, maybe.
Or maybe you've already had the COVID and you've gotten over it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter, apparently. Apparently, they're going to give you a rapid COVID test when you get to the venue, according to this article.
So do you think that people are going to be standing in line 6 feet apart from each other? So instead of the line just going around the block, it goes around the next 3 blocks?
I don't know.
Considering the vast majority of people there are probably going to be white, I think they're all going to be socially distancing and being as scared as they possibly can be.
Do you know how they usually have? I don't know what they're called. They're the little like pillars, and then they have the little straps to like make people go in like an S.
Yeah, like movie theaters, sort of.
Yeah. So do you
Pencil
think
barriers?
Yes. Do you think instead of that they'll be using those things to like keep the distance between people to measure it? And no, you got to back up a little bit there, buddy. You know, what about like families? Like, what if you bring, you know, your wife and your kids to the show and you're all standing together? Are they going to force you to all stand 6 feet apart?
Well, yeah. And are they going to allow max capacity inside the auditorium, or
Well,
are you going to have
not.
a space between each seat?
It sounds like they said, this article says, in addition to wearing masks and socially distancing within the venue. Now, I know nothing about this particular venue. It seems to be a casino of some type.
Yeah, Foxwood. That's a pretty big casino.
I've been there.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty big. You know, I feel like if it were me, I would just do shows because first off, I get why you want, you know, it's COB, right? Cover your butt. Dave Chappelle wants to make money. It's really hard to do shows right now.
Yep.
If I was Dave Chappelle and I wanted to do shows, I would just go to Texas and Florida and places that don't have these mask mandates. So
New
basically,
Hampshire.
just when you get your ticket, just say, come at your own risk. And just, you know, because you're going to have more fun that way. And then the people that aren't scared are going to come to your show instead of doing all this security theater and making it seem like it's a TSA inspection just to go see a comedy show.
There was a group of us. I don't know if you joined us, but when all of the
was
stuff
not flash mobbing
when all this stuff first kicked in, comedian Jim Brewer came to New Hampshire.
I remember.
And did what's known as a drive-in comedy concert. And so they had him on a stage, basically in a field. You had to like park. You basically got 2 parking spaces per car. And so you park your car, and then the rest of the space on one side was for your carload to get out and sit in lawn chairs. And they had like a big screen behind Jim Brewer, you know, so you could kind of see him from far away. It was lame. I mean, Jim Brewer was fantastically funny, but the whole entire experience was just super lame.
Oh.
You know, you couldn't, they had people patrolling the place. You couldn't go to the merch table without doing the social distance thing or wearing a mask. They had people patrolling the areas, making sure people weren't using the bathrooms without wearing a mask and stuff like that. It was super lame. Except for Jim Brewer. Jim Brewer was funny. Of course, he knows how to deliver a show. But in those circumstances, it was super dystopian, and I didn't like it at all. I'm surprised.
As I can tell.
Yeah. Other than Jim Brewer was fantastic. I mean, he's a really funny guy. I love his comedy.
I heard a little bit of his lead-in. He was doing an interview on a morning show, and he was certainly speaking his mind about how he thought all this was hooey.
Well, and that's the irony was his show was sort of anti all this stuff. You know, he was like, "What are we doing all this for anyway?" Right? It's something that you know,
we look like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, you got a 99% chance of recovering from most of you.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're over 70 and you've got some other things going on, you're probably going to survive just fine.
Right.
You know?
And that's probably what we need more of is we need prominent voices that people that aren't typically political to begin with need to start making a statement about this stuff. Because it's just sad that everybody goes along with it in lockstep. And to be, you know, if we're just being real, the average American looks up to celebrities, which is really sad and pathetic on its own. But, you know,
it's designed that way.
It is. It is.
Well, the article continues, masks will be required at all times while in the venue. The event page reads, additionally, each ticket holder will receive a mandatory rapid COVID-19 antigen test prior to entering the venue. If COVID-19 is detected by the rapid test, that individual and all members of the same household will not be allowed to enter and will be given a refund. So how much would that suck? Right? You've spent your money. You're all stoked. You get, whoever's in your household together. You all pile into a car. You drive down to the venue. You pay for parking.
Yep.
And then you get into the venue and they do whatever they do. Nasal swab. I don't know what it is they do for these rapid tests.
Right.
But, and then they go, oh, sorry, you tested positive.
Right. And it's probably a false positive.
Yeah. Here's your money back.
Good chance.
Are they going to refund your parking too?
Right. How far did you drive to go to that too?
Yeah.
Let's say you came up from New York for it. Now,
how much gas did you spend? Are they going to pay for that too?
Yep.
It seems like this could go very wrong in many different ways.
And the more we read this, I'm pretty sure that's Foxwoods imposing that stuff on him. So it really could be anybody there. They got a lot of old folks there that they want to make sure don't keel over from this horrible thing.
The page also notes that guests who have received the COVID-19 vaccine are not exempt from the rapid test. 603-283-6160. Would you go to a comedy show or a concert under these circumstances?
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Hey developers, do you want to add Bitcoin to your apps, website? Want to make something creative? AnyPay is the way. We made a super simple API just for you at anypay.dev. You don't need any special knowledge of Bitcoin. Plug it into your app or website and it just works. Get paid on the transactions your users make. Whether you're brand new to web development or have decades of experience, you can add Bitcoin to anything with anypay.dev.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the talk show known as Free Talk Live. The telephone number here in the studio is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160 if you'd like to join the conversation tonight. In the studio, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Mushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
And we've been talking about this article from People magazine. Apparently, comedian Dave Chappelle will be doing some shows coming up in Connecticut's Foxwoods Resort. And they are going to require rapid COVID testing for everybody that shows up.
I want to make sure they're protecting all the old folks in there.
I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, so there's a couple problems I have with this. Number one, Dave Chappelle, at least for most of his career, in my opinion, gave off some very anti-establishment vibes, right? He was, sort of a F the system, we got to look at what's wrong, internally, inside ourselves with the system, how the system is screwing people, and that kind of a thing. And so now for him to, well, I'm going to do some shows and I'm going to subject you to some real sort of draconian, medical invasion before you get to come see me be a funny man.
Right.
Just doesn't seem like the type of thing he would do.
Well, just like his Rick James impression and cocaine being a hell of a drug, then same thing as money. People get addicted to it and you do what you got to do for it. That's probably what he's doing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I feel like a lot of comedians went online as a result of COVID. It's like they're doing podcasts and they're doing like vlogs and stuff because you can't go to a venue and justify it in this environment. If they just let people make their own decisions, it wouldn't be a problem. But, like we were saying earlier, it's probably an insurance thing and he's probably just covering his butt. And it's sad, but I can also see how, you gotta make your money.
Well, Chappelle himself tested positive for the coronavirus earlier this year.
Okay.
His rep confirmed the news to People magazine in January as Chappelle made the decision to cancel all of his upcoming shows in Austin, Texas following his positive diagnosis. Mm-hmm. He had performed for what was the first of 5 scheduled shows the week prior to his positive test, and then apparently canceled the rest. His rep added that at the time, the comedian had safely conducted socially distanced shows in Ohio since June of 2020, and he moved those shows to Austin during the winter. Chappelle implemented COVID-19 protocols, which included rapid testing for the audience and daily testing for himself and his team, assumably his tour crew and that kind of a thing. His diligent testing enabled him to immediately respond by quarantining, thus mitigating the spread of the virus, quote unquote. So,
well, I won't be going.
Yeah, I won't be
Sounds
going
like a pain in the butt
either. In fact, would I go to another drive-in show? I don't think I would.
Just doesn't seem worth it to you.
It was just too lame.
Yeah.
If the mask Nazis, maybe if you were able to have a beer and
maybe now that the Governor Flanunu has lifted the statewide mandate and they had the drive-in concert, you could, like you say, walk around freely, free-faced, go have a beer, get up to the merch table, buy a shirt, whatever, that kind of a thing.
I don't think the mandates even matter now. Like, yes, they've done away with them, but just recently being in states where they did away with the mandates, and I heard about them not having mandates, the local businesses and the local municipalities are just as crazy.
Of course.
And I got ran out of quite a few stores. They won't even let you in. They don't care nothing about exemptions. They want you out of the store.
The social pressure's already there. It's not just the municipalities anymore. It's just that people are so conditioned. It's been a year, and it doesn't seem like it's going away, especially because the vaccines don't seem to be working, right? I think Pfizer just said that you're going to have to get a third shot because two's not enough.
Yep. The Johnson & Johnson thing's on hold because some women got some blood clots for reasons.
One of them's giving people shingles, I heard.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, in England, there were a couple cases, and in Israel, people are getting herpes zoster from one of the vaccines.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's insane. And what is the point in getting it if it doesn't do, you still have to wear a mask, you still have to social distance, you still have to play the game. There's no freedom from this.
Yeah, no, none at all. And in fact, New York is implementing the Vax Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So is Hawaii, right?
Yep, and a couple other places that I can't think of off the top of my head. And my question is still this, something that I've not seen addressed in any of the press at all regarding any of these Vax passports.
Mm-hmm.
What if a guy got the COVID, suffered through it, and then got better? What does he do?
Checks a different box on there.
Does he have to get the shot?
I made it.
Does he have to get the
you
shot?
could probably get an antibody test, right? But they're saying part of the thing they're saying is that even if you get COVID, you could get a different strain, so you're not protected. But it's like, then I ask, well, what strains are these vaccines covering? Because like when you get a flu shot, right, it only covers
which I don't get
a dozen or so strains of flu. You can still get the flu even with a flu vaccine.
Yep.
COVID's the same way. So to me, it just all seems like nonsense. I don't know what the goal is.
No, you're absolutely right, because all of, I'm going to say, traditional vaccine technology, right? Not including these mRNA vaccines. So this would include the Johnson & Johnson version of the COVID vaccine because it's closer to the traditional vaccine where they just give you a little bit of like the dead virus or whatever. And all these things are supposed to do is inject a little bit into your body so that your own personal immune system can begin to build up the defenses against these things.
Right.
That's all a vaccine does, period. All it does is it primes your existing immune system.
Right.
Right? So,
which is what happens when you get the disease. If you're not in a high risk range, like if you're in your 20s or 30s or even your 40s, you should just get exposed to COVID, get it, and then you'll get the antibodies. That's how nature works, right? Our bodies do this naturally. The vaccine, like you said, is supposed to just be a weak, toned-down version that your body can easily fight, right? A lot of people get the vaccine, and they get sick from the vaccine. I had a friend, he's an ICU nurse. He told me that he got coronavirus, was like decommissioned, on his couch, miserable for a week, and then a couple months later, he ended up getting the vaccine and said the vaccine was worse.
Really?
He said he was miserable for 3 days.
Duh.
Yeah, which is a shocker to nobody.
I had the COVID.
Yeah, so did I.
And it took me, as far as symptoms go, if you go and you read all the possible symptoms that you can get, I had about half of them.
Okay.
And I would put it in like the top 20% of flu-like illnesses that I have had. It hit me pretty hard. I did sleep for about 3 days.
Okay.
Just to get up and hydrate and hit the john and climb back into bed.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of delirium here and there. I had the sweats and the chills. Big headache for a while.
Did you lose your taste?
I did. That was the telltale sign. But it wasn't until almost a week into it that I lost my sense of taste. And it wasn't until about a week after that I got it back.
Okay.
So, but all that being said, I never once thought I was going to die.
I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
Survivor.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Karl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
AnyPay believes that Bitcoin is meant to improve your life, make it easier to do business, connect you with more people in the world at under a penny every time. That's kind of why we laugh at BTC. It used to be free the market, free the world. Now it's just hodl and have fun staying poor. That's not what the world needs. We need honest money that works for everyone. If you care, join us at anypayx.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Hey, we're a talk radio show. And we talk
about stuff
while on the radio.
It's crazy.
Weird. We are called Free Talk Live, in case you haven't heard of us, if you're tuning in for the first time ever. If you have, thanks for tuning in again and listening. We are nationally syndicated. We're also streaming live online at a bunch of different places. including, I think we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on DLive, and of course, audio streams, lrn.fm. If you want a direct, just a regular audio stream, you can go there. And also a couple of satellite stations. So the idea was that we wanted this content because Free Talk Live is a live call-in show where we talk about things from the perspective of freedom. And so the idea of being on a satellite channel was so that other countries could literally start their own pirate radio station and rebroadcast freedom-oriented content. Arr, indeed, yes. A-E-I-R.
I was thinking of A-R-R-R.
The coin, yes.
Yeah, the R coin.
I was just saying the pirate alphabet.
That's me shilling R. Buy some R, everybody.
R.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, I'm not a financial advisor, but I hear R is a up-and-coming privacy coin.
Yeah, true story.
Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. If you would like to join the conversation, you must dial, this is a U.S. area code, 603-283-6160. Again, the telephone number is 603-283-6160. Speaking of coins, digital coins, or cryptocurrency, Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go to Bitcoin.com now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse to ignore this insanely important and world-changing information. If you are a knowledgeable crypto user already, you can check out news.bitcoin.com to get all the latest headlines for the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Please visit bitcoin.com.
Yeah, Bitcoin I would also refer to as freedom money. You know, if you want to use something that's yours, then use it. And if you don't think it's freedom money, the people that were put in jail here, the Crypto Six.
Oh, indeed.
The 100% reason that happened, in my belief, is completely because it's related to Bitcoin. It doesn't have anything else to do with the other words they're putting on it. It's solely about their use of money.
Yep.
That's what I consider freedom money.
Yeah, they're claiming, something like, and you can go on your magic rectangle in your pocket, listeners. You could pull that out and do a web search for indictment and then type in Ian Freeman after the word indictment and look at the actual charges that he is facing with regards to the raid that happened a little over a month ago. And it is all money transmission related, right? That is the phrase they use a money transmitter without a license and this type of a thing for just merely exchanging digital currency and respecting people's privacy,
exchanging ideas
while doing it.
That's all Bitcoin is. It's an idea. You can't touch it. Can't do anything.
Yeah, it's code. It's a language.
Yeah,
it's like
thought.
music. Yeah,
right.
It's like music. It's like if you gave me $1 and I wrote you a song.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the dollar you can touch, but I mean literally, if you're outlawing something like Bitcoin, you can't touch it. Can't build a house out of it. You can't eat it. It is literally a thing we think about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So you're outlawing a thought when you tell me that I can't give you a certain amount of this thought based on some rule you make up.
Right. And furthermore, outlawing speech. Because
100%.
Code is speech.
Yeah,
right.
This is complete attack on freedom of speech and freedom of thinking. We are in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, we are. And speaking of Bitcoin.com, I have an article from them that I brought for show prep tonight. And you guys have heard that Tesla has decided to accept Bitcoin, BTC.
I didn't know that.
For any of their current vehicles that they're selling.
Yeah.
And they say that they won't convert that back into FRNs or
why would they?
The dollar, quote unquote.
They're probably happy to take your Bitcoin.
They're very happy to take your Bitcoin and give you a car in exchange.
The Model 3 is like what? Good models, like 60 grand, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
That's good.
So about a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but that's going to be one of those things where, hey, how do you like my $4 million car?
Yeah.
Well, and so there hasn't been a whole lot of, like some people that I know and we know in the freedom community have maybe made a mention of this, but it hasn't been a big deal. We know that BTC, that's the original Bitcoin, that they have some very high transaction fees.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to transact in like $60,000 increments with Bitcoin, you're probably not worried about whatever it's going to be. The transaction fee is probably going to be $100 or something like that to do that transaction. You're probably not worried about it at that level. But if you're going to do like a $50 transaction in BTC and you got to pay a $25 fee to do that transaction, that is cost prohibitive. And so we all know or are aware that BCH, Bitcoin Cash, is sort of the cryptocurrency that was designed after Satoshi's vision to be more of a person-to-person exchangeable currency, and it doesn't suffer from these high fees. So Tesla decides to offer, hey, we're going to accept BTC. Some people in the BCH community went, well, aren't you going to accept BCH too? And so one man apparently has offered to buy 111 Tesla Model 3s if Elon Musk's company accepts Bitcoin Cash for payments.
Whoa.
111.
That's a lot of crypto.
I don't know how he arove. I'm making up words. How he did arrive at 111 Tesla Model 3s as like, why wasn't it 100 or 110 or 100? Why was it 111?
Might be literally as much Bitcoin Cash as he has.
Maybe.
You know?
Maybe.
I hope not.
Right? I mean, if you're going to do that, you probably have a lot more.
Wouldn't go broke
around.
on a bunch of Teslas.
Yeah.
Those are going to be some really expensive cars.
I would think
that
that would be his like pocket change or something. Right?
Well,
He's been a miner since the olden days.
The thing about Teslas and other electric cars too is that their value is supposed to maintain better than a traditional car because all you got to do is swap the battery out, and the chassis and the frame and all of that can last forever.
Yeah, I'm told they're going well over 300,000 miles and still going strong.
Yeah.
At least the early ones anyway. On April 20th, a video, this is from Bitcoin.com. On April 20th, a video stemming from the YouTube channel called firstmill.com, that's OneSTMIL.com, has the Bitcoin Cash community talking. The host of the channel, sitting in a Tesla dealership parking lot, explains in his recent video that if Elon Musk gets Tesla to accept Bitcoin Cash directly for cars, he plans to commit to purchasing 111 Tesla Model 3s.
That's a publicly traded company now, right?
Tesla?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll do whatever the shareholders tell them to do.
Right.
That's the way that works. That's why it was kind of neat seeing him smoke joints on Joe Rogan and drink whiskey. I don't think they like that too much, though.
As much of a fan as I am of sort of the rebellious people in the world, I don't find Tesla to be one of them. I'm in the minority, I think, there, because I know a lot of people who are like, "Oh yeah, Tesla, man, he's my hero." He's, all
Elon
the
Musk,
things that you just, Elon Musk. Thank you. I'm not a huge fan of Elon when it comes to that stuff. I see him, I think, for what he is, which is he's the sales guy for Tesla.
I'm kind of hoping
the hype man.
He's sort of one of us, or maybe what I would even call like
I have hope.
What I've heard called a gut libertarian recently, which
a gut libertarian.
Yeah, like they sort of know it, and but maybe they're not completely there yet.
I like that.
If you could buy a Tesla with Bitcoin Cash, would you?
Yes.
603. I'm asking the listeners.
Oh, okay.
603-283-6160. Let us know.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to the program. Thank you for tuning in. This radio program is called Free Talk Live. We're a live call-in radio talk show where you can take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever is on your mind. The telephone number in the studio is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Mushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
We've been talking a little bit about this article from Bitcoin.com, where previously on Free Talk Live, we talked about that Tesla will accept BTC, that's regular Bitcoin, or OG Bitcoin, if you will, in exchange for buying a Tesla car.
Have you checked their website out? Do they actually have a pay in BTC button?
I was on the website today looking to see if they had BCH, but I didn't get to any area where it was like, buy now. Like you could just like go ahead and pay for it and arrange delivery.
All right.
Like I didn't get that far. I didn't spend that much time on it, but I did go there.
Yeah, a quick goggles of it would probably tell you.
You got a laptop right here.
Yeah, all right. So we'll find
Captain.
it. Bitcoin.
Make it happen, Captain. Oh, wait, I'm the captain.
See if we can't find a link.
So not too long ago, Tesla electric car manufacturer announced accepting BTC for payments and also mentioned that the coins would not be sold for fiat currency. For you listeners out there, FIAT, that's fiat.
They are going to hold on.
Fiat currency is known as the USD, United States dollars, right? Us libertarian types, anarchists, voluntarists, we know that as war money, blood money, just to name a few things that it actually funds. It's ironic that the people in government think that things like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are funding criminal activity when it is indeed the United States dollar that funds more crime than any other currency on planet Earth. But you could just go ahead and ignore that.
Yeah, the government does a lot of things. I mean, I just saw today that the U.S. military is the #1 polluter on planet Earth.
Yeah,
by a long shot.
No, we actually
more than some
covered
countries.
that. We actually covered that more than a year ago.
Oh, really?
I did a bit here on Free Talk Live about the government being the largest polluter, and then that has circled back around now since it's like it's a lefty-leaning Democrats in office kind of thing, and they're all worried about the environment and stuff.
Yep.
So that article has come back and been renewed. I've seen that it's updated. It's got new stats and all that kind of stuff. So it's certainly something to pay attention to. And yes, indeed, they have been and continue to be the world's largest source of pollution.
Yeah, and that's not changing anytime soon.
Nope.
Trying to get the army to go green's next to impossible. Tanks don't run on electricity.
Solar-powered tank.
That's on purpose.
Just recently, the host of YouTube channel firstmill.com claims he will buy 111 Tesla Model 3 cars if Tesla agrees to accept Bitcoin Cash. So in addition to BTC, they're not even asking them to not accept BTC. They're just saying, hey, accept BCH in addition.
Right.
Which shouldn't be too hard for a company like Tesla to do.
But then it starts to snowball because then you're going to have other people saying, like, why won't you accept XRP? Why won't you accept any of these other Monero, of these other altcoins?
Well, they can. There are some apps out there that allow people to do just that.
Oh, they'll never accept Monero or any other altcoin that protects your identity, because the thing is it's not that rebellious for Tesla to be accepting Bitcoin. Bitcoin is starting to go mainstream, right?
Yes.
PayPal accepts it. JP Morgan's bought a bunch of it. There's other banks that bought a bunch of it. They're trying to get a grapple on it.
Time Magazine has gotten into it.
Yeah, they're trying to get a grapple on it, and it's just like the stock market, right? 10% of the American population in the form of investment firms owns 90% of the stocks.
Right.
So market manipulation by investment firms is a real thing, because when you own the majority of something, you get to control
whales
the
and
price.
cryptocurrency
Exactly.
are the equivalent to that, except in the crypto realm.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. The establishment would love to be the whales in that situation. If you can't beat them, join them. And that's kind of we were talking about this last week, and I was saying that, pretty soon you're going to start hearing about dirty and clean crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be clean crypto being the crypto that you buy on PayPal, that they know where it's from and they can track it, and it's always know your customer all the way down the chain. And then there's going to be that Bitcoin that are sitting on people's hard drives, that have been in their closets since, 2010, that they're like, oh, I'm going to go do something with this. And then no one knows where it came from. That could have been used in human trafficking or drug dealing or whatever. And they're going to make that Bitcoin, they're going to find a way, they're going to try to make that Bitcoin worthless.
It's not going to happen. I mean, it may occur, but there's always going to be the ability to exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that as long as they actually keep the cryptocurrency portion, right? The actual blockchain involved. You folks, you listeners out there, and we've already been starting to hear about digital currencies. It's very easy for you to think that Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Monero and Ethereum are digital currencies. They're not. They're blockchain currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the United States dollar is already a digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
There is not enough physical 1s, 10s, 20s, 50s, 100s, whatever in circulation or in production even to equal the amount of dollars that are in circulation.
Right.
So that's why banks get afraid of a bank run. So the USD is already a digital currency. When you go to a bank and you get a loan and you sign the paperwork, they just add some digital zeros to your bank account.
Right.
Right. And they produce that money basically out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you've got that amount of money. You go buy your house or whatever, and now you've got to pay the bank back plus interest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's how they create money. It's already a digital currency. So you have to be very careful with your terminology. Now,
Sounds like some fractional reserve we're talking about there.
Definitely. So Bitcoin is money for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Something like Libra, right, we'll call it money for the corporations. And then the USD, of course, is money for governments. Right?
Libra, we're
That type of
talking
thing.
about Facebook coin.
Right.
Yeah, or another good example is XRP, Ripple, right?
Yes.
Like that's used for bank-to-bank transfers, and then normal people can own it, but it's definitely built, or it was definitely designed with the banks in mind.
Right. Now, the thing is that you can exchange right now any of those for the other. Right? Now, you have to find a willing party, or an app that's able to do so. If you can find an app that doesn't make you give your identification, all the better. But a person-to-person exchange for any of these is always possible. If you have XRP and you've got some Libra, I don't think Libra is even on the market yet. I'm just using it as an example.
Never going to happen.
Just saying,
I got Libra.
Hypothetically, you've got some XRP, you've got some Libra, and I've got some Bitcoin. Well, we could do a trade where I end up with some XRP and you end up with some Bitcoin and you end up with the Libra.
That would be a terrible trade. Never trade your Bitcoin away for XRP.
I'm not saying this is a good example.
I'm actually a fan of XRP. It's gone up quite a bit lately.
You're a Ripple fan, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, man. I am all for decentralized currency. I'm all for currency of the people.
Yeah.
But also, you got to hedge your bets, right? And if the banks like it, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah. Well, as an investment, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not saying that I'm
looking to make some money or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, this host of firstmill.com said that he's committed to purchasing 111 Tesla cars if Elon Musk can get Tesla to accept Bitcoin Cash for payments. He filmed himself at a Tesla dealership parking lot and shows a wallet on his smartphone loaded with BCH that can purchase up to 3 Tesla Model 3 cars. So 150 grand or something like that. He shows on his YouTube channel. Quote, "As you see, I'm back at Tesla again," the firstmill.com host said. "They don't know that I'm here, and I want to make this a surprise for all the Tesla people as well, particularly Elon Musk. As a special celebration of 10x in Bitcoin Cash, me and a friend of mine who's a big promoter of Bitcoin Cash came up with great ideas about how to get Elon Musk to accept Bitcoin Cash for payments. Many Bitcoin Cash holders have a lot of money and want to spend it. The firstmill.com host also explained how Tesla accepting Bitcoin for payments and the company is not transferring the funds into fiat. We've covered that. It's my suggestion, the YouTuber notes, not just me, but many other Bitcoin Cash holders who have a lot of money, we do want to spend it. Let me just make a commitment, Elon. If you're going to accept Bitcoin Cash as a payment, my phone to your phone or to Tesla's phone, then I hereby am officially committing to buy 111 Tesla Model 3s. Yes, you heard me right. 111 Tesla Model 3s.
I don't see it happening.
He just said it was. It's on the internet.
Bitcoin Cash. I'm talking about Bitcoin Cash. He'll accept Bitcoin because, and it's Elon's just the face, right? It's the board of executives or whatever that run the company. They looked at Bitcoin. They were like, this is going to work. So they accepted it.
Coming up next hour, Signal's CEO hacked a piece of software. We'll find out what it is. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
More arrests expected. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Federal officials are still tracking down people they say took part in the January 6th Capitol Hill riot.
The Justice Department expects to charge at least 100 more individuals for taking part in a deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol in January. Federal prosecutors noted in a court filing more than 400 people have already been charged. The Justice Department is asking judges to postpone some deadlines related to prosecutions, noting the breadth of the investigation. Last week, a member of the Oath Keepers group became the first person to plead guilty for his role in the breach. Prosecutors say additional defendants are in plea discussions. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A new report by the Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security finds federal agents that were sent to Portland, Oregon last summer to tamp down violent protests didn't have the proper training or equipment and had no plan for operating without the help of local police who were ordered by the city to stand down. Colorado prosecutors have filed more than 40 new felony charges against the suspect in last month's deadly mass shooting at a Boulder supermarket. Ahmad Alisa was initially charged with 10 counts of murder. Now he faces an additional 33 counts of attempted murder, 10 counts of using prohibited large-capacity magazines, and 1 count of assault. But Boulder County District Attorney Michael Doherty says the store that sold the magazines likely won't face charges.
Based on the information available to us at this point, we don't have any reason to believe they were sold illegally.
Doherty says the FBI is assisting in the investigation as they try to determine a motive for the attack. An Ohio man has pled guilty to the 2016 murders of his child's mother and 7 members of her family. Edward Jake Wagner pled guilty to 23 counts in Pike County in a deal that spares him the death penalty on the 5th anniversary of the killings. America is listening to Fox News.
Join over 24,000 of some of the fastest growing companies in the world who rely on NetSuite. Just ask Sean Nelson, founder of Lovesac.
We started as a beanbag company in my parents' basement. And the next thing I knew, we were one of the fastest growing furniture companies in the world. Only problem? We still had multiple systems for everything.
NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, inventory, e-commerce, HR, and more.
Lovesac furniture is built to last and infinitely adaptable, just like NetSuite.
Find out how NetSuite can help your company with a free product tour at netsuite.com/relax.
On this Earth Day, President Biden pledges the U.S. will work to contribute financially to combat climate change.
The White House says it will work closely with Congress to increase funding to developing nations as part of the administration's U.S. International Climate Finance Plan. President Biden announced the initiative during the first day of his virtual climate summit with 40 world leaders.
It lays out specific steps that federal agencies of the United States will take to increase both the quality and quantity of climate financing.
The administration plans to spend less on fossil fuels and encourage the private sector to invest more in green energy. At the White House, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
And Biden is calling on Wall Street to join the climate fight, saying climate change is more than a threat and presents the largest opportunity for job creation in the future. Jamaica's prime minister says the amount of money pledged by developed countries to help poorer nations to adapt to cleaner technologies needs to be increased. A new poll finds many healthcare workers are thinking about quitting their jobs.
More than a year into the coronavirus pandemic, many healthcare workers are struggling, with 3 out of 10 considering leaving their profession, according according to a Washington Post Kaiser Family Foundation poll, more than half saying they're burned out. About 6 in 10 say stress from the pandemic has harmed their mental health. Frustration also a factor. While the poll found a majority feel respected by the general public and their patients, 6 in 10 say most Americans are not taking enough precautions.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
In a deal policymakers have hailed as a decisive step towards combating the rapidly escalating national debt, the United States settled 0.02 millionth of a percent of its debt to China this week with a single autographed photograph of John Hamm. The sale of the glossy signed headshot of the acclaimed actor, which China reportedly accepted for a financial easement of approximately $150 out of America's estimated $1.3 trillion in obligations, concludes a 6-month negotiation between the two parties.
The decision was obviously not an easy one, but without question, this was the right choice for our nation's future.
And in this week's science news, a distant planet is terrified that it might be able to someday support human life. In other news, a live cow is lowered onto the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. The majority of an office's supplies are used to apply for different jobs, and a lapsed cult member only attends sanctum on major bloodletting holidays.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, you are listening to Free Talk Live, the radio talk program where you can take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever's on your mind. The telephone number here in the studio, should you wish to join us, is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Lord, Dr. Reverend Captain Kickass, and joining me,
just Mushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
All right.
It was hard to follow that.
You guys could be a little less enthusiastic.
I'm going to get a title.
Reverend? You sucked all the air out of it.
Obergruppenführer?
Yeah.
What's an Obergruppenführer?
It's a German rank. It just sounds cool. It just means upper group leader.
Oh, very nice.
I know.
All right.
Sounds fancy.
It does sound fancy. My doctor, by the way, my doctorate is honorary. It was given to me by a caller to this show.
Oh, cool.
Who said, because I said, it'd be cool if I had like a doctorate or whatever, but like the only way I'm ever going to get one is if it's like honorary or something. And like somebody called and was like, abracadabra, you're now a doctor, an honorary doctor. I'm like, gosh, thanks, dude. So I was able to add it too.
That's kind of how it works when you're a knight, right? Like somebody just touches you with an object and says abracadabra, now you're a knight.
I now dub the knight. Yes. We've been talking a bit about cryptocurrency and technology, and everyone's always talking about you should buy Bitcoin. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but that's a little boring. How about if you earn some Bitcoin, getting paid with it? I believe that is a much better way.
Yes.
If you want to earn Bitcoin at your business, anypayx.com is the way to do it. Your customers will love it, and everyone in town will talk about your store being the Bitcoin store. And it's just fun. You can get the free app and start earning Bitcoin at your business now. Visit anypayx.com. That's anypayx.com. Along the lines of technology, we teased at the bottom of the hour before the news and the commercials came on that Signal's CEO, now, if you don't know what Signal is a texting app for your smartphone that is supposed to be one of the highest secure, cryptographic, end-to-end encryption, et cetera, and so on.
It's the latest thing people are using.
The latest thing people are using to make sure that their texts don't get
It kind of blew up after the Capitol riots earlier this year. I feel like a lot of people were talking about it, and I saw, because I've had Signal for like a year now, and I saw a bunch of people join, because it tells you when your contacts on your phone join.
Yep.
Bunch of people I knew that, like from back in the day, from my Navy days and stuff, joined all right around then.
Yeah, I had it not too long after I moved here, so a year and a half ago, something like that. And you're right, I did see people that I know from, my day job and that kind of a thing, or people that I've been in contact with, and like, Bob is now on Signal, Jane, and I'd see these names pop up. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, well, I think people are just getting used to the fact that they know the government's listening.
Well, the CEO of Signal just hacked the cops' favorite phone cracking tool and became a legend, according to Gizmodo.com.
Ooh, spicy.
Israeli digital intelligence firm Cellebrite sells software designed to unlock phones and extract their data. As a result, its products are a favorite of law enforcement agencies across the U.S., and police frequently use them to gather evidence from seized devices. So, in other words, if you're arrested and they take your phone from you, if they're going to search your phone, they're going to deploy something manufactured by this firm called Cellebrite to try and get your data. In the past, the company has received criticism for its willingness to sell pretty much any government their software, including repressive regimes around the world. However, despite its mission to compromise phone security everywhere, Cellebrite would appear to have very little interest in securing its own software, if you believe the CEO of encrypted chat app Signal. In a blog post published Wednesday, Moxie Marlinspike claimed that Cellebrite software has atrocious security that can be easily manipulated in a number of rather astounding ways. We were surprised to find that very little care seems to have been given to Cellebrite's own software security. Industry-standard exploit mitigation defenses are missing, and many opportunities for exploitation are present, Marlinspike writes. Until Cellebrite is able to accurately repair all vulnerabilities in its software with extremely high confidence, the only remedy a Cellebrite user has is to not scan devices. So if you're a law enforcement right now and you have any of this Cellebrite software, it is completely vulnerable and it can give you some very wrong data.
So the hacking software can be hacked?
Correct. Among many wild claims made in the blog, Marlinspike says that because of security flaws, somebody could basically rewrite all of the data being collected by Cellebrite's tools. Hypothetically, a uniquely configured file could be slipped into any app on the targeted device, allowing for the alteration of all of the data that has been or will be collected by Cellebrite software.
Is there a link to where we can download the file to slip in the app?
I believe you can find it on the blog post.
Excellent.
By Marlinspike.
Great.
Such a file could alter data in any arbitrary way, quote unquote, inserting or removing text, email, photos, contacts, files, or any other data with no detectable timestamp changes or checksum failures, the blog states. It continues. Given the number of opportunities present, we found that it's possible to execute arbitrary code on a Cellebrite machine simply by including a specially formatted but otherwise innocuous file in any app on the device that is subsequently then plugged into Cellebrite and scanned. There are virtually no limits on the code that can be executed. The blog even includes a video spliced with scenes from the movie Hackers that shows just how easily Cellebrite software can be hijacked. On top of everything, the blog makes another pretty bold claim. Code that is apparently the intellectual property of Apple appears within Cellebrite software, something Marlinspike says might present a legal risk for Cellebrite and its users. In other words, Celebrite might be selling code that belongs to its biggest adversary. Imagine if you got arrested and they took your phone and they decided to crack it with this Celebrite software.
Okay.
And because the Celebrite software is using Apple as part of its base code, an Apple, piece of code as its base code, you can now sue either Apple or Celebrite, the government, or perhaps all three, because they have violated copyright. They violated privacy, right? They're selling their own software or Apple software as if it's their own software, which is completely illegal to do, at least under copyright laws and that type of thing. So it creates
the moral dilemma and intellectual property.
It creates all sorts of legal discomfort for these people. If all of these disclosures are true, it could have some pretty massive ramifications for Celebrite. If we can assume it's really this easy for someone to break into the company's software and drastically alter the data that police are collecting, how certain can law enforcement be that the evidence they're collecting is correct?
Right.
Well, they can't.
Yeah. Further degradation of institutional trust. This is happening across the board everywhere. People are talking about online. I have some friends that are talking about how they think that Joe Biden, died of COVID or something, and they're using deep fake to keep it going. It's probably not true.
He's been stolen and replaced with an exact duplicate?
Yeah, or something like that. You know what I mean? But it's the fact that we exist at this point in time where no one can believe anything that comes out all over the internet or from their TV, and this is just further now anybody can claim if the government takes your phone, they arrest you, they take your phone, and they get something off of it, all you have to do is, that was never mine, it must have been hacked, and there's no way to prove it wasn't.
The article says anyone who's been involved in a case that has used Celebrite software should probably be calling their attorneys right now.
Yeah.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
This is William Chambers. Now a retired insurance salesman, Chambers is just one of over 95% of grandfathers who, according to a new report from the Center of Business Intelligence, secured their first and only job by walking right up to the owner of a business and asking for a position right then and there.
I slammed my fist on the desk and said, "I'm your man." He stood right up
and shook my hand and said, "You come in first thing Monday morning."
According to the report, nearly 36% of grandfathers claim that they found employment by entering a local business with nothing but a nickel in their pockets and a shirt on their backs. 24% saw a fine-looking marquee for a business and said, "Someday my name's going to be on that sign." And 40% of grandfathers said they snuck into the CEO's office and said, "Mr. McKinley, sir, I'm your guy."
It just took gumption. You didn't need some fancy internship. Looking the boss dead in the eye and showing him you were a man. That was your internship.
This is the Onion News Network.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Yes, come on and listen to this radio program. Yeah, you can call in at 603-283-6160. We'll get to your calls and thoughts in just a moment. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Bushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
And on March 16th of this year, just a little more than a month ago, a joint government task force raided the New Hampshire Bitcoin Embassy, the Mighty Moose Mart, the homes of Aria DeMezzo, Andy and Renee Spinella, Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, and perhaps most relevant, the studios of Free Talk Live. The Crypto Six were arrested, and most were released on bail, but Rich Paul, also known as Nobody, and Ian Freeman both remain in custody. We've been in contact with attorneys that say no crime even appears to have been committed. But that didn't stop the Joint Thug Task Force from ripping out wires from the back of our broadcast stacks, taking Free Talk Live off the air, and violating our and your First Amendment rights. You can go to thecrypto6.com and donate to fight the charges against the Crypto Six. But as importantly, please contact media and tell them about this outrage. This case is likely to set precedent for the use of cryptocurrency into the future. Help our fight for liberty and financial freedom at thecrypto6.com. Again, thecrypto6.com. Let's go to your calls and thoughts. We've got Zephin calling. Zephin, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, everybody. So I was just calling because today in class we had a debate about essentially what happened with Chauvin. And so it quickly became apparent that I was anti-cop, and there were several people in the class that protested that, and they were saying why. And I essentially said that if they continue to uphold this violent and unjust system where victimless people are put in prison for doing things that don't hurt anyone else, then they don't deserve 1 inch of my respect.
Well said.
And additionally, I mentioned that, victimless crime would be like owning a firearm and, carrying it. And then because the state law doesn't permit you to do that, then, you're a felon and you're no longer able to defend yourself and your family. And the result of me saying that was that eventually they were saying, oh, well, what about people that, did domestic abuse? And I said, okay, well, what law would you institute that would stop a domestic abuser from getting a firearm. Because if you think that someone that breaks the law and hurts other people is going to simply say, "Oh yeah, there's that law in the book, so I guess I'm not going to do that."
You make an excellent point, Zephan, and that is something that was pointed out to me, particularly with the apparent rise in what they're calling mass shootings, right? These people who go around and shoot up whatever schools and movie theaters, stuff like that. Is that the decision to murder always precedes the decision for which tool they're going to use to do the murder.
Yeah.
Always. So the decision is already made up in the mind of the person who's going to do the murdering, whether it's a cop, whether it's a non-cop, whether it's an abuser, anything like that. If somebody has made up their mind that they are going to kill a person or other persons, that thought comes first. Weapon selection comes second.
Hey, Zephan, is that, you said a debate. Is this in college or is this at like a high school or something?
Yeah, this was in my college class. We study social movement. And what really pissed me off was that when I said, oh, yeah, like these laws aren't going to stop anybody, like all gun control does is that it stops good people from being able to defend their families, they took that as me saying, oh, so you think that domestic abusers are good people? And I said, what?
Do you find a lot of people around you share these opinions, Zephan?
Nope, that's why I'm moving to New Hampshire in June.
I was about to ask you. Yeah, man, that's awesome. I was about to ask you, have you visited New Hampshire yet?
Yes, I've been twice, and, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about and why freedom's so important and why the police are just a hypocritical and evil institution and why the individual freedom to keep and bear arms is a right that we shouldn't sacrifice.
I hear what you're saying about the cops, but they're definitely a symptom. The problem being how you pay for it. Taxation by theft.
Yep. Yeah, like if it were a voluntary security firm that, some people got together and hired, right? If they did a crappy job, well, then they could just fire them and hire a different company. But because that doesn't exist, there's only one choice. Right? You only have one method of payment, and that's them taking money out of your paycheck, out of your wallet, or whenever you buy something. And then you only have one provider of said services. That makes it a monopoly. I encourage you, Zephan, I know you say you're going to move, but until you do, keep planting those seeds, particularly in your classes with other folks, because I guarantee you somebody else sitting there is having well, wait a minute, that guy said some things that started to make me think. I've been thinking about that since he said it the other day. I guarantee you that's happening.
Yeah, let's hope so.
One point that actually I think resonated with people, because somebody said it after, was that I said, look, like we've seen this before throughout history with prohibition. When we make things illegal, it just makes it that the illegal markets thrive, which makes it so that more people are hurt. So like with the war on drugs, right? Because we're not able to see all of these things that are happening, like people like overdose with like laced substances and more people die. Same thing with abortion, and same thing with honestly firearms. Because people can't access these legal channels, they get put into dangerous situations, and no laws are going to stop people from doing quote unquote bad things. The only way to stop bad things is to take personal responsibility and make sure that you're taking care of your own family and, your own community. Like, no amount of government is ever going to solve your problem.
Amen, man.
Amen.
Hey, Zephan, I just want to say thanks for, speaking out when, everybody else in your class doesn't even think about those kind of things. It seems like common sense to us, but a lot of people are scared to talk, especially in college, because they're afraid it's going to affect their grades. And it could, your teacher could really dislike what you have to say. And and I'm in college right now, and I feel like, having these, what we see as common sense ideas seem so foreign to these kids, and they just accept whatever the professors are telling them. It's become such a monoculture in college. So good job doing that.
Yeah, thank you. And I currently live in California, so I honestly thought that people were going to be very receptive to the anti-cop message. I live in a weird spot in California, and there were like 3 people that were related to law enforcement, and how they were phrasing a lot of these issues were like, oh, you know, how are we supposed to get scores on drugs, you know, if we don't have, you know, cops conducting searches on people? And I said, no, but you don't understand. Like, that's my problem with cops. They are declaring war against innocent people that conduct victimless transactions with others.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight, Zephin. Yep, you're absolutely right. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. 603-283-6160. If you'd like to join the conversation, more Free Talk Live is on the way.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk program where you can take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever is on your mind. The telephone number here is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain,
Bushmouth Mike,
and Tyler.
The previous caller, Zephin, brought up some interesting topics.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to encourage anybody who's listening out there. I don't care if you're in college or if you're in an old folks home. If you're listening to this show and you feel like you have a grip on the philosophy of freedom, don't be afraid to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Bring it up at Thanksgiving at your family dinners. Somebody's going to bring up and create some drama anyway. Might as well you be bringing up freedom.
There you go.
Right? Instead of, Dave talking about, or Uncle Dave talking about how his wife left him again or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would much rather people begin these conversations than to just be afraid of talking to what we sometimes refer to as normies, people who've never explored the ideas of freedom or the philosophies of freedom, the non-aggression principle being sort of the main component of that. And hopefully, Zephin, you introduce some folks to the non-aggression principle.
I kind of am getting I used to think that, but now I'm like, as I get older, I realize my time is so short here and I don't want to waste it. So I'm also of the belief too, like if you strongly believe those things, just come here, save your breath, save the people from afar that you love. And, if they don't come with you, fine, you'll meet and make new family here.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Yep.
I'm a transplant. I've been here for 3 years now, from Washington State originally. And
wow, you and I share the Washington State connection. That's cool.
Yes, we do. And it's one of those things where it's hard if you've got a family to uproot them and move out here.
It is.
But I'm telling everybody out there right now, it is totally worth it. I have never been happier in my life being around like-minded people in a community that just seems so genuine. And when people share your values, it's a game changer.
Yes. Makes you certainly excited about doing things sometimes when you know that you get to be around people that share some ideals that you do.
Yep.
Yeah, it is certainly refreshing. I had a group of friends back in Seattle before I relocated here. And one, maybe two of them would definitely call themselves of maybe a libertarian ilk.
Mm-hmm.
I say that one guy, Mike, ran as a libertarian for, state senate or something like that. We called him the senator as a joke, sounded like a mob name,
right?
So when he'd come over to play cards or whatever, the senator's coming, right? It sounded like we had somebody in our back pocket, And then I had another friend of mine who would never use the word libertarian or anarchist or voluntarist, claimed he was politically independent. But when it came to having the conversations about, the non-aggression principle, what is a government, how do you define government, like we saw eye to eye on this stuff. So, and that's probably out of I'll say my closest circle, 10, 15 people, something like that. Everybody else, rather statist. Now, to their credit, a lot of these folks we'll call them rebels, right? Musicians or artists or otherwise, sort of freer thinkers, second level thinkers. And so they would listen, and a lot of times folks will be like, you know what, you're not wrong about these things, but for whatever reason, they never sort of turned the corner.
Roads.
Yeah. Oh, what do we do about the sewage? So you just want sewage rolling out into the streets? You think that's going to, it's like, oh my God, you don't understand the free market.
Here's some free literature.
Yeah. And, you try and do your best and farm some, hey, here's a book that I read or, that kind of a thing.
Hand him some Murray Rothbard or something.
That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But like for whatever reason, many of those folks never really sort of turned the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine. Like I don't really have a problem with it because I know that I was approached by anarchists, skateboarders when I was in high school. And because I also skateboarded and I listened to punk rock and heavy metal, and, you know, we'd meet on the half pipes and that kind of a thing. And they would talk to me about anarchy. And I'm like, what's that? And they're like, well, it just means no government. And I'm like, why would anybody want that? Right? Like I had this very defensive reaction, you know, at like 16 years old or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
because you knew it all.
Because I knew it all, and like school had taught me that government was necessary, right? So I couldn't even begin at 16 to think about, well, is it actually necessary, to ask the questions, to go down the road, to explore the potential avenues, to read what other people who are far greater thinkers than I am have written on the subject already, to discover this whole world where there is an entire philosophy that says this organization of goons, tyrants, parasites, and thugs is not necessary. It is a human construct that is a monopoly on violence. Mm-hmm. And once you sort of work through that, or at least once I worked through that, then it was just a matter of where am I going to go, right? I had a couple of different places that I kind of mapped out, but the first place that I ever thought of sort of relocating to as a person of being of a mind of freedom was here in New Hampshire, because of this show, because of the movements that, you know, the larger movement that goes on here in the state. And so I thought to myself, if I don't go there first, I'm going to regret not going there. And so I didn't want to regret not going and at least seeing what it was all about. And here I am, and it's been a couple of years. And I know all you bastards now,
Rock on, man.
All the other bastards know me, and bastardettes, or whatever, you know, you want to call yourselves. And it's been great. Somebody was asking me recently, like, how is it for you? And I'm like, I don't know that I felt more at home anywhere than I do here now currently around people who I can talk about. Like, you and I can sit down and have these conversations outside of this radio program, and we can all be kind of on the same. Everybody's got their differences and their little things that they like or don't like, or they believe differently and that kind of a thing. But for the most part, everybody's coming from the same perspective of, hey, man, you know, we got to do what we got to do to be as free as possible. And so, like Mushmouth Mike said, if you're out there listening to this program tonight and this means something to you, the non-aggression principle means something to you, and living freely according to your own desires, needs, and wants means something to you, and you're able to function with sort of, you know, within the parameters of the non-aggression principle, then you should consider moving here to New Hampshire, because there are a boatload of other people that think like you do, that believe like you do in those things.
Yeah, bring a coat, some good boots, and some work gloves.
Yeah, and a snow shovel.
Well, I mean, you're the
and your brain trust.
You're the leader of the Carhartt gang, so you can figure out how to provide that stuff for people, right?
Yeah, you got to cut the labels off though in order to be a real member.
Our heart.
Yeah, if you're a Liberty lover, you'll love it here. But if you're a statist, you'd hate it. It's horrible. It rains all the time. It's super cold. You wouldn't like it. So, you know, if you're like coming up from Boston or whatever and you just love your government, just stay there.
Or Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Oh, is the M supposed to be silent?
One of my favorite bumper stickers when I moved here was it was on a truck. It said, "Welcome to New Hampshire. Don't mass it up." That was pretty good.
I've not seen that one.
You find out pretty quickly.
Good.
I didn't know how bad Massachusetts was until I moved out here to the East Coast, and then you find out that it's just like California. You know, if you're a West Coaster, that's what we look at as a big government overreach. California's miserable.
Oh, yeah. Well, Seattle, too, or Washington State.
Yeah,
anyway.
Washington's interesting because it's split down the Cascade Mountain Range, and the east side of the state's actually a lot like out here.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, too, like I grew up in Wisconsin originally, and then I went out to Seattle, right, after some time, after sort of wandering the earth. And so New Hampshire is kind of this weird conglomeration or amalgam of both Washington State and Wisconsin. So it's really weird in that way. 603-283-6160. Will you join the freedom movement here in New Hampshire?
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Negotiation isn't just something union leaders and sports agents do. Your entire day is a series of negotiations. If you have young children, you know that. In fact, your kids can teach you a lot about negotiating with grown-ups. According to the world's greatest negotiator, Herb Cohen, author of You Can Negotiate Anything. Herb says that kids understand the process of decision-making within an organization. When one parent says no, they'll ask the other. And Cohen says children persist and persevere. And like smart negotiators of all ages, kids know that no is an opening bargaining position. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live. The telephone number here in studio is 603-283-6160. Again, the telephone number 603-283-6160 if you'd like to join us and have a conversation. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
And Mushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
And you can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for Forkfest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the incredibly beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Before I go on reading this copy, yes, that means you can come and visit New Hampshire and come and hang out with a bunch of Liberty people for an entire week, if not two, because there's the Porcupine Freedom Festival that goes on the week before Forkfest goes on. So if you got some time and you want to do like a cross-country trip, rent an RV, or just pack you and your buddies or your family into the car, grab some tents, you can do that and come and party with us at Forkfest. Forkfest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and Forkfest is decentralized, which means there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you need to do is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room. Yes, they have a couple motels on site with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. I can't think of a better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can find links to the unofficial Telegram. There's a forum over there. You can ask all sorts of questions and find out more at forkfest.party. Come and party in the Shire. We hope to see you there.
This is going to be the year to go, too. I'm not sure what the numbers look like for Forkfest because, they're not selling tickets. Porkfest is packed this year.
I'm told it's sold out.
Yeah.
The campground.
There, last I heard, there were 3 campgrounds left, and I've never seen it like that.
Like, you mean spots?
Yeah, like 3 spots left, and that was a few days
ago.
I bet they're gone.
I heard they were gone.
Yeah, I bet
They're
they are by now.
double booking spots.
That's wild.
They've double booked.
Really?
Yeah, but apparently that's happened to some people.
Oh, no.
Now, when I first heard that Porkfest was sold out, I thought, oh, they've sold out of tickets, because I know that you need a ticket. Mm-hmm. Like, you can just reserve a campsite there at Rogers during the week of Porkfest, Porcupine Freedom Festival, and not go to Porkfest. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Because you need to buy a ticket to go and enjoy the activities that they have in their little Porkfest area. Yep. So that's what I thought when I first heard that. But I was corrected very quickly that no, it is the entire campground that is sold out for the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that also means that Forkfest, which happens the week after, should also be much larger. I think we're going to see spillover. We're going to see people who didn't get a ticket to the Porcupine Freedom Festival that are like, okay, well, we'll do Forkfest instead. And Free Talk Live will be there for both weeks, by the way.
All right.
So there will be some presence. We will be doing shows and, rebroadcasting them. We probably won't be broadcasting live per se, but we'll do a show and then we'll broadcast it the next day type of a thing is what is likely to happen for those 2 weeks. So we will have a presence there for both weeks, and it's going to be great. Please come if you've considered moving here and you want to meet and start networking with people. It's a great place to start doing that.
Amen.
Anyway, we've been talking about this article from Gizmodo a few segments ago.
Teslas for Bitcoin Cash. Oh, no, wait. We moved on to
the CEO of Signal hacked Celebrite software, which is software that is sold to police forces of many different alphabets, 3-letter acronyms and 4-letter acronyms. He was able to hack it and insert a file that basically messed up their ability to what this software does. My understanding from what I've read about it, and I've read this guy's actual blog post on it as well. It's a little heady and a little techy, so I don't want to read that live on the air. But essentially what this software does is it acts as if it's a user, and it opens your messages, it opens your email, and it just takes screenshots of it, right? Scrolls through, screenshot, and then dumps that into a database onto a computer somewhere. So it acts like it's a user, it starts taking screenshots, and it dumps all of that data onto a computer somewhere. So what he was able to do is insert a file onto a phone, and when Celebrite software was activated on that phone, it actually prevented all of that from happening.
Interesting, yeah. Ruin the integrity of that software, which is awesome.
Completely.
There's another 900 companies lined up to get that government cheese, though.
Absolutely.
Oh, of course there are. So, at any rate, this article says, among many wild claims made in the blog, Marlon Spike says that because of the security flaws, somebody could basically rewrite all of the data being collected by Celebrite's tools. Hypothetically, a uniquely configured file could be slipped into any app on a targeted device. allowing for the alteration of all of the data that has been or will be collected in the future. The blog even includes a video spliced with the scenes from the movie Hackers. We talked about that already. The fact that Marlin Spike has very publicly outed these security concerns and did so without prior disclosure to Cellebrite, as is standard industry practice, right? Normally, if a hacker finds some security flaw in some software, he'll contact the company first to be like, dudes, I found this flaw in your software. It's a professional courtesy. I'm going to go do an interview on Fox News now about it, okay? Here's the data. It's usually he didn't do any of that this time. So the fact that he publicly outed these security concerns without doing the professional courtesy could definitely be viewed as a swipe, if not an outright backhanded slap to the face. But it's hard not to read all of this as some sort of retort to Cellebrite's recent claims that it can crack Signal's encryption.
Oh.
Surely a claim that stuck in Marlin Spike's craw. To top everything off, the Signal CEO actually ends the blog by really making it sound like Signal plans to spam Cellebrite with some sort of malware-adjacent files in the future. And this is from the blog. In completely unrelated news, upcoming versions of Signal will be periodically fetching files to place in app storage. These files are never used for anything inside Signal and never interact with Signal software or data, but they look nice, and aesthetics are an important thing in software. We have a few different versions of files that we think are aesthetically pleasing, and we'll iterate through those slowly over time. There's no other significance to these files.
That was Signal saying about Signal the files they're going to help you with?
Signal saying they're going to periodically just insert some files into their app. They're not going to do anything bad to you or your texting or your messaging or whatever. They're just going to sit there and look nice.
Yeah, maybe Signal's jumped the shark here a little too.
Perhaps. Shots fired indeed. We have this Gizmodo has reached out to Cellebrite for comment, and we'll update the story if we ever hear back from them. Update as of 6:50 p.m. Wednesday, April 21st. In response to request for comment, a spokesperson for Cellebrite sent the following statement. Cellebrite enables customers to protect and save lives.
Does it, though?
I don't know how swiping data off a cell phone saves lives. Accelerate justice. I don't know how it does that either. Preserve privacy and legally sanctioned investigations. Doesn't seem to preserve any privacy either. We have strict licensing policies that govern how customers are permitted to use our technology and do not sell to countries under the sanction by the U.S., Israel, or the broader international community, which is not true because the United States police forces use Cellebrite software. Cellebrite is committed to protecting the integrity of our customers' data, and we will continually audit and update our software in order to equip our customers with the best digital intelligence solutions available.
Well, they're customers of the government, so
correct.
They're not really helping anybody.
No. And this is all just backpedal.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. This is sort of having grown up in the, well, what year was I born? 72 or something like that. So, I was early 80s, right? Late 70s, early 80s. I was a kid. And then, I would watch television pretty regularly. I would say I was basically raised by TV. And things like, I don't know, Max Headroom, right? They stuck with me, like a dystopian future with, like all these hackers and tech things going on and stuff like that. This article reminds me a bit of, two different technology companies that are now going to have a hack off, if you will, between each other, right? One's going to try and sort of screw the other out of, its own app working properly, and the other one's going to try and screw it out of like it selling its app or whatever it is. I think this is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to these technological battles. We're going to see a whole bunch more of different technology companies fighting each other in many different ways. Sort of the way Anonymous sort of appeared out of nowhere back in the day. 603-283-6160. Third hour Free Talk Live is on the way. Stay tuned.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Taking a closer look at policing. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A hearing held today in the Senate, but focusing on responses to those who may be having mental health crises.
The Senate Judiciary Subcommittee heard from several witnesses, including Baltimore Police Major Martin Bartness.
We are in this situation because of public policy decisions made decades ago, when psychiatric institutions were closed and those living with mental illness were returned to their communities without adequate treatment and support.
He asked the senators to provide resources so police can partner with mental health providers. Rafael Manguel at the Manhattan Institute warned against shifting police away from mental health calls entirely.
But it's often unclear as to whether a call can be accurately categorized as one being safe that can be safely diverted to civilian responders in mental health crises.
He said despite the number of mental health related calls, it is extremely rare for an officer to use his or her weapon. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The Senate has passed a measure designed to combat anti-Asian hate crimes. It would expedite the review of hate crimes and provide support for local law enforcement in response to thousands of reported incidents in the past year. It was sponsored by Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono.
I cannot tell you how important this bill is to the AAPI community, who often has felt very invisible in our country, always seen as foreign, always seen as the other.
The House is expected to take up a similar bill in the coming weeks. Republicans are pitching a response to President Biden's infrastructure bill.
I'm pleased to come forth 10 days after meeting with the president with an offer that really should address what most Americans think of as infrastructure.
Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker. The measure calls for about $600 billion in spending. The president's proposal costs $2.3 trillion. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
The first legal challenge to Florida's anti-riot law has been filed.
An attorney is filing a federal lawsuit in Orlando against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and other state leaders, claiming the new law intended to curb riots by increasing criminal penalties and liabilities is unconstitutional. The law not only makes property destruction or assault during a protest full felonies, it also allows businesses to sue cities who prevent police from stopping rioters causing damage to property. The lawsuit claims the new law is designed to silence the Black Lives Matter movement. In Broward County, Florida, Eben Brown, Fox News.
On this Earth Day, New York City is suing ExxonMobil, BP, Royal Dutch Shell, and industry group the American Petroleum Institute, claiming they have systematically and intentionally misled consumers about the central role their products play in causing the climate crisis. The city filed a suit in state court after a federal appeals court this month rejected its effort to hold the companies liable to help pay the cost of harm caused by global warming. A report on racism at the heart of the Anglican Church tells leaders change is overdue.
The head of the Church of England described it last year as deeply institutionally racist. Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, recruited a task force which has now reported back with dozens of proposals. It suggests requiring the church to have at least one ethnic minority candidate on shortlists for senior roles like bishops, and it says failing to act now.
Free Talk Live.
Good evening, Mark and Ian.
Hey, it's Scott the Bigot. What's on your mind tonight, Scott?
I know that America is in dire straits, and I know that the whole rotten Zionist-occupied government is going to collapse very soon.
When was the last time you went out and socialized with other human beings?
I get the pulse of the people, and I get the pulse of what's going on in this country.
How can you get the pulse of anything if you're cloistered within your apartment?
I know what's going on.
I mean, are you even getting out amongst other white separatists?
Yeah, wait, in a minute.
Is that your mom?
Wait a minute.
No, listen, it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I want it now.
So, gentlemen.
Who is that?
Yeah, you go loud.
Wait, is that your mother?
Yeah, I take care of her.
How old are you, by the way?
49.
Is your mom as bigoted and nasty towards other human beings as you are?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Onion Week in Review. According to friends, colleagues, and complete strangers, anxiety-ridden man Timothy Gibbula is rightly ashamed of every single thing he does, with mere acquaintances saying they're constantly judging Gibbula at every moment, just as he suspects.
Tim's the kind of guy who's forever second-guessing his behavior, as if everyone's constantly scrutinizing him, and he's completely correct. We all are.
We can spend entire afternoons picking apart Tim's taste in clothing and his receding hairline. It's honestly all we do when he's not around.
Anytime he awkwardly says excuse me when he's waiting in line for milk or sugar, anytime he fails to make eye contact with me when he asks me for the Wi-Fi password, not only do I notice these things, but I use them to judge him fundamentally as a human being.
A 3-alarm fire that tore through a family home in Newark, Delaware early Saturday morning tragically claimed a half sleeve of Oreo cookies that were trapped inside a cupboard. At the time of the blaze, the residence was occupied by Mike and Sheila Donlan, their 3 young children, and 6 delicious chocolate sandwich cookies, all half dozen of which perished in the intense heat and towering flames.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, we're kicking off hour number 3 of this Thursday night edition of Free Talk Live.
I almost forgot what day it was.
Well,
that's a good time.
We've been doing some schedule shuffling here at Free Talk Live, so sometimes I'm on days that I'm not used to being on. I'm sure that I've been on at least one of every of the 7 days. So
Good
now
job.
it's just a matter of remembering which day it actually is when I'm here.
First world problem.
Yeah. And in the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Mushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
We're going to switch gears a bit because I say I stumbled upon articles. I did. I mean, stumble upon. I didn't trip over myself, or I wasn't wearing shoes that were untied. I was like, oh, look, an article. I checked my news feeds and found this one interesting. This is from April 17th from intellectualtakeout.org. Occasionally, these guys have some pretty good stuff. And this says, the income tax basically implies that governments own you.
What?
That's right. The income tax is enshrined into law, but it is an idea that stands in total contradiction to the driving force behind the American Revolution and the idea of freedom itself. We desperately need a serious national movement to get rid of it. Not reform it, not replace it, not flatten it or refocus its sting from this group to that. It just needs to go.
Amen. Absolutely.
The great essayist Frank I'm going to destroy his name, Chodorov, is that right? Once described the income tax as the root of all evil. His target was not the tax itself, but the principle behind it. Since its implementation in 1913, he wrote, "The government says to the citizen, your earnings are not exclusively your own. We have a claim on them, and our claim precedes yours. We will allow you to keep some of it because we recognize your need, not your right. But whatever we grant you for yourself is for us to decide." And he really does have a point. That is evil.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Tyler, how much of my money do you have a right to?
That's a tough question.
As a person.
Let me think about it. Let me crunch the numbers real quick. I'm going to go with 0.
Very good. Mushmouth Mike, how much of your money does Tyler have a right to?
As much as he wants to come get.
That's right.
That's how they work the system.
Well, that's not necessarily a right, right?
Mike makes right.
So, Mike makes right?
Some days. A little wrong, too.
So, yes, the answer is no. The answer is none. 0. Zilch. So, when Congress ratified the 16th Amendment on February 3rd, 1913, there was a sense in which all private income in the U.S. was nationalized. What was not taxed from then on was a favor granted to us and continues to be so.
Oh,
this is really nice of them.
This is, yeah, thanks, guys. Wow.
Let me keep some of my money.
This is implied in the text of the amendment itself. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived without apportionment among the several states and without regards to any census or enumeration.
Yeah, speechless. I get it.
So, well, yeah, back during the Revolutionary War and further, the Founding Fathers had trouble figuring out how they were going to pay for their government. Right.
Well, their wars specifically. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was Thomas Jefferson who was a big advocate of tariffs because he was like, that's how we'll tax the people. And you're still taxing the people. It's just indirectly.
Yeah.
And then George Washington, with the whole whiskey rebellion, that was all stemmed from the fact that they were trying to use sin tax on whiskey distillers to fund things. And
that's S-I-N space tax, not S-Y-N-T-A-X for you.
I was wondering.
Yeah. Syntax.
Yes.
But an income tax, to put it really simply, and this is like, if you ever people listening, you ever talk to a libertarian, this is how they're going to explain it to you, is slavery is when your master takes 100% of what you earn.
Correct.
And it's theirs to keep. So if they let you keep 10% of it, is it still slavery? What about 20%?
How much of a percent of your life's efforts taken away from you makes you not a slave?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is 0, of course, right?
The government thinks it's like, what, 28%, something like that?
Well, that's just on your paycheck if you work an hourly job. That doesn't include all of the other taxes that you pay and must pay, your car registration, your property tax if you own a house, right? All of these taxes, right? There's also inflation, which is a hidden tax, which makes the money that you do get to keep worth even less than, all that kind of thing. So the real number is around 50%.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Tax money gets taxed again. In some states, thank God not in New Hampshire, but in some states, you get income tax and then you still have a sales tax on top of that.
Yep.
You've got federal income tax, you've got state sales tax, and then like you said, you've got your property tax, which is another mind-blowing tax. The idea that you don't actually own your property, you still have to pay the government every year to verify that that's your quote-unquote property.
I'm going to say it's 100% tax. When you figure in the mental tax also, like the maskers are a perfect example. Yeah, now they're getting to keep a little bit of their money, but how are they spending it? Now they think it's okay to, sort of press their mask views on you. So mentally, people are pretty taxed too. So I'm going to say 100% is the answer.
Yeah.
So the article continues, no limits. Where are the limits? There weren't any. There was some discussion about putting a limit on the tax, but it seemed unnecessary. Only 1% of the income earners would end up paying about 1% to the government. Everybody else was initially untouched. Who really cares that the rich have to pay a bit more, right? They can afford it. This perspective totally misunderstands the true nature of government, which always wants more money and more power and will stop at nothing to get both. The 16th Amendment was more than a modern additive to an antique document. It was a new philosophy of the fiscal life of the entire country. Today, the ruling elite no longer bothers with things like amendments. But back in the day, it was different. The amendment was made necessary because of previous court decisions that stated what was once considered a bottom-line presumption of the free society. Government cannot tax personal property. What you make is your own. You get to keep the product of your labors. Government can tax sales, perhaps, or raise money through tariffs on goods coming in and out of the country, but your bank account is off limits. Gosh, wouldn't it be nice if that was true today?
What a dream.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, it's like people always say that anarchy is a utopic idea, right? This idea, how could we ever exist without the government? You know what's really a utopic idea? Minarchism.
Yeah, the idea that enough force applied by the right monopoly can make the perfect society.
Yeah.
That is the utopian delusion.
Right. Or the idea that government's not going to get greedy and it's not going to grow. It's ridiculous.
The amendment changed that idea. In the beginning, it applied to very few people. This was one reason it passed. It was pitched as a replacement tax, not a new money raiser. After all the havoc caused by divisive tariffs of the 19th century, this sounded like a great deal to many people, particularly Southerners and Westerners, fed up with paying such high prices for manufactured goods while seeing their trading relations with foreign consumers disrupted. People who supported it, and they were not so much the left but the right-wing populists of the time, imagined that the tax would hit the robber baron class of industrialists in the North, and that it did. Their fortunes began to dwindle, and their confidence in their ability to amass and retain intergenerational fortunes began to wane. And one of the other taxes we didn't mention when we were listing them is the inheritance tax. So you save a bunch of money and you die, and you leave that money to your wife or your kid. It gets taxed again before they get it.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you already paid tax on it. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It is Free Talk Live. The telephone number here is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Mushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
We've been talking about this article from Intellectual Takeout that says the income tax basically implies that government owns you. And we can talk more about what that means and whether or not you feel owned by the government. But first, let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. We've got Haddig calling from Florida. Haddig, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, thank you. I heard an exchange a couple of days ago with this guy that you call Scott the Bigot. I think he lives in Miami or someplace like
that. Yes, STB as we like to call him, Scott the Bigot. That's right.
Yes, he's a Jew who had some kind of a bad experience with Lehman Brothers or something, and has seen that there are a lot of things to be criticized about Jews, and apparently has become open-minded about some things. I would call him Scott the Open-Minded Semite, not Scott the Bigot.
Well, the problem is that everything for Scott the Bigot comes down to the Jews, right? Like, I really don't like the fact that the United States government is Zionist-controlled. And it's like, so you'd be okay with the United States government if it were controlled by, like, say, Tyler here, one of my co-hosts. And he's like, well, yeah, I think I would. And so that's where the bigotry comes in.
Well, I don't think most people, would not regard it as bigotry. The idea that there should be a government and somebody should have some kind of power. This is a particular libertarian notion. But it was interesting to me in the course of the exchange, Scott was asked what kind of government he would prefer.
Mm-hmm.
And his response was that he would like to live under a national socialist government. I'm not sure how much thought he's actually given to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But because he really didn't have good responses to the obvious objection that was going to come up, which was the Holocaust. The Holocaust. You would be Holocausted. And I, as a falsetto American, would be Holocausted.
Yeah, I saw it written the other day. The Hall of Cost. HALL space OF space COST. I'm like, wow, somebody needs remedial spelling.
Much like a lot of Americans, I imagine Scott the Bigot's probably living a very comfortable life and has lots of free time to think about these things.
Well, it occurs to me that an awful lot of post-war ideology and political rhetoric, from libertarianism all the way over to Antifa, really leans pretty heavily on the Holocaust. And the fact is, there was no Holocaust.
Oh.
This is war propaganda.
Oh,
Holocaust denial.
Well, what happened then if there was no Holocaust?
Well, if you want to know what happened, it was pretty much the same thing that happened in the United States when they rounded up Japanese from the West Coast because they were considered to be a danger.
No, but I heard that didn't happen.
Well, you heard wrong, because it's actually admitted. There's a film of General Eisenhower's brother talking about it.
But there isn't any film of the Germans talking about rounding up the Jews?
Rounding up is one thing, but I'm saying they did round them up. And they had the idea we're going to relocate them. And that's all admitted. What's not admitted is gas chambers or gassings. And there's also no physical evidence whatsoever for that. None at all.
There's no piles of bodies? There's no mass
piles
graves?
Of bodies from the disease epidemic and also from Allied bombing. Some of the pictures, in fact, that have been used as in Holocaust exhibits actually are from cities that the U.S. and the British Air Forces bombed. I found an example of that. World Jewish Congress did that.
All right, hold on.
A typhus epidemic.
The whole Holocaust thing.
Haddock, hold on for a minute.
Yeah, so the whole Holocaust thing, I think, to me, that seems like a red herring. Whether or not the Holocaust happened doesn't, negate the obvious pitfalls of National Socialism, right? The concept being with National Socialism, if we just have the right people doing the right things for the right reasons and we all look alike and share the same values, then government's going to do what it's supposed to. That just doesn't make any sense. The idea that government's not going to be greedy or government's not going to be overbearing or overreaching or self-interested just because everybody looks the same and acts the same, that's absurd. It doesn't change anything. Whether or not the Holocaust happened, I mean, we all agree that the Jews were rounded up in Germany. Whether the Allies killed them or the Germans killed them, how does that change? How does that change National Socialism from being this overbearing fascistic system?
So you don't care if the premise of your argument is false.
How so?
You just said you don't care.
No. I'm saying I don't care. No, I don't care about. I don't care about the Holocaust, whether it was true or not. I'm saying that it's a red herring. It has nothing to do with the premise.
If it were a red herring, it wouldn't be constantly invoked the way it is.
That's what red herrings are.
That's what. Yeah.
It comes up with you libertarians. You use this as an argument for how bad government is.
Tell me how a National Socialist government would be better in any way. Why? Why would it be different? Why would it buck the trend?
Well, it depends on which trend you're talking about. You and I would have to get on the same wavelength in that regard first. But the fact is that the specific accusation of rounding up Jews for the purpose of killing all of them is false. It's a false accusation.
Yes. You've said this a million times. We're asking about National Socialism. How is National Socialism a superior form of government to any other form of government? In what way is it superior?
Well, it's superior to communism because you're more free, and also because the homogeneity of society tends to facilitate freedom. When you have a multicultural society, people have different ways of doing things, and if you have the government trying to serve all kinds of different ways of doing things at the same time, it's
freedom
impossible.
For who? Everybody?
Freedom for the majority.
Oh, right. It's just,
but not the minority.
Just the Germans, or just the what? Who would it be in America? The white Protestant Americans? That's the problem.
Yeah. I've had enough of this guy.
Yeah, that was
goodbye, Hadding.
The whole Holocaust denial thing with National Socialists just seems so pointless to me, because it's like, look, I don't care. it doesn't change the fact that you seem to think it would change the fact that National Socialism is going to be, you think it's going to be this selfless, like great society where the government always does the right thing because it's for the right people. It's like, oh, Germans taking care of Germans. You don't think that there were Germans in Germany that worked in the government that were like, hey, let's make sure that we're taken care of first and then we'll get to the rest of the Germans.
Right.
Like it somehow changes people's motives.
Well, and from my perspective, the non-aggression principle means that every human being gets treated the same.
Right.
Right? At least from my perspective. Right? And that includes all human beings. Now, whatever the minority is at any given point in space and time on planet Earth can and will change. Mm-hmm. And so whether I'm in the minority or somebody else is in the minority, I want them to at least be treated like human frickin' beings. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You know that at some point in your life, an emergency is going to happen. You just don't know when. You could call the government, and maybe they'll help. Or they might shoot your dog. Why call potentially psychopathic strangers when you could ask your friends, family, or neighbors for help? Cell 411 makes decentralized emergency response possible, and it's free. Visit getcell411.com or download Cell 411 from your favorite app store. Getcell411.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your AMP will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you AMP Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Yeah, it is Free Talk Live, the Thursday night edition. The telephone number here in the studio is 603-283-6160. We've got some callers holding that we'll get to in just a moment. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
it's Mushmouth Mike.
And Tyler.
And we had a caller who was talking about... Well, he was basically a Holocaust denier.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that we had for him was, okay, well, regardless of that, right, whether or not you believe that this happened or didn't happen, what makes National Socialism a superior form of government to other forms of government? And to which he really didn't have much of a reply.
How are you going to pay for it?
And that's really what it comes down to. And we've been talking about this article from Intellectual Takeout that talks about how the income tax basically makes the government your owner. Right?
Yeah.
How are you going to pay for it? And are you the person wanting the road, the fire department, the cop shop, whatever it is thing you want? Are you willing to take a gun to your neighbor and extract that value from them?
Right. Right. And that's my problem with presidents and bureaucrats of any variety is when it comes to, okay, well, we're going to go bomb some people. All right, you need to be the first MF out there.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be the first guy picking up a gun. Be a leader, not a guy who sits behind and hides behind the youth that they arm.
Wars are always declared by old men, but they're always fought by 18-year-old kids.
Yes. So at any rate, the caller's response was, well, you know, the majority would be treated just fine. And it's like, you know what? I don't care who the minority is. The minority will rotate on planet Earth. It's not always going to be what the minority is today. In fact, the Caucasian, thing is, becoming homogenized with all the other races on planet Earth. So the minority is going to change. Maybe not in our lifetime, but it is certainly going to change, and it will continue to do so. And it has done so throughout human history. So rather than talk about how you'd like to be treated, you and your buddies, how about we talk about how we treat human beings in general, instead of excluding some people because you don't like them. At any rate, let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. Let's start with Pat in Michigan. Pat, you wanted to talk about Scott the Bigot.
Well, I called in to defend him once before because he was kind of half right, but definitely not all right.
Okay.
Judaism spread because the whole population was literate. And no matter how much they got scattered like rats from burning ships, when they got there, they could read.
You're not a fan.
Right? And in the courts of the 1300s and such, this was valuable. You could impress people just because you could cipher and such.
Because you could read, right? Yeah, it's like a magic trick.
Yeah. And they assimilated to places of power. And then, of course, when what's the word I'm thinking of? The European onslaught of the Muslims, the Crusades.
Crusades, right? Yep.
Yeah. Well, at that point,
the Christian movement, nonetheless.
It became a sin, pretty much, to lend your brother $1 at a penance of $0.50 back. You know what I'm saying? Interest.
Yeah, you couldn't charge interest.
So the
right?
Jews became the bankers. And they was already the cipherers and the literate ones. They were planted in places of power, and they became. It's all animosity, jealousy. I hate that guy because he's better than me.
Right?
Why is he so damn smart?
Yep. It's certainly an accurate stereotype. I only know a couple people who are Jews, and they're both number people.
Hey, thanks for the call, Pat. We appreciate it. I've known several people, that are some percentage Jew or whatever, and I've never had any problem with any of those people in any way, shape, or form.
No, definitely cool.
Some of them
really
I didn't
cool.
find particularly apt at things like money or math, like the stereotypes, these people who stereotype want you to believe.
Look, and the funny thing is, too, is that even if you accept that argument and it's like, okay, let's just say the Jews do own a huge portion of the banks, and that started with usury way back in the day. And this homeless ethnic group went to other countries and started getting in positions of power and then helping each other out. Wouldn't you do the same thing if you were in that position?
Right.
It's like, I don't understand why that all of a sudden people jump to the conclusion it's like, oh, well, then the Jews are bad people and we should do something about them.
By that logic, then the Sicilians and the Italians should all be horrible people because they're generally associated with mafia.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. It's like, does your Jewish friend that works at the same business as you, is he part of this elite banking cabal that runs the world?
The control mechanism, whether it's the Jews, the Sicilians, the blacks, the whites, if you keep us divided, then we can't stand together. God, it sounds corny.
You don't have to convince the pitchfork people that you're trying to take their money. What you do is you have to convince the torch people that the pitchfork people are trying to take their money, and they'll fight it out amongst themselves while we sit on high and continue collecting our taxes.
Yeah, that's a big problem I have with National Socialism and the right wing. It's just the right wing's version of identity politics, which the left has already been playing for years.
Hey, real quick, guys, I have to get this in. I want to say thank you to Pazza. Pazza is a silver level, and we'll go visit amp.freetalklive.com. It stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. And that means that Pazza gives $5 a month to help get this radio program on more radio stations. We're on something close to 200 radio stations now. We could be on 250. We could be on 300 or even more radio stations. It's all up to you. There's some perks that you get for becoming an amplifier, and there's a few different levels. Go find out more over at amp.freetalklive.com. And thank you, Pazza, for your contributions. Let's go to Jet calling from Tennessee. Jet, you're on Free Talk Live.
Okay, real quick. 3 facets to this thing we call taxation. Number one, these humans thinking of themselves as your betters or your overseers, overlords, are just other humans who have no more rights than you or I. Number two, you mentioned that you thought that the full taxation was around 50%. I would say it's closer to 70% because you think of all the added taxes that are on things like your cell phone. You buy a cell phone, you pay a tax. You use a cell phone, you pay a tax. All this kind of thing.
Okay.
The third facet is that when you're referring to these people extracting your labor, you have to think of it in terms of time and energy. When someone demands that you expend your own time and energy for them, there is nothing else you can call that. In other words, if they're willing to hurt you, if you do not expend your time and energy for them doing something that they will benefit from, then yes, you are owned. This is why I have personally done contract most of my life and have not contributed to the federal mafia for decades.
Nice.
Good work.
So that's what I wanted to correct you was it's your time and energy, and no one else has a right to it.
Right. It's literally your life force, right? If I put effort into, making a bench or a picnic table, and then I want to set that picnic table in my front yard and sell it for $100. Some guy comes by and is like, that's a nice picnic table. I'll give you $100 for it. I go, great. We make the exchange. What hand did government have in any of that gives them a right to any of that money?
Roads.
Well, it's the demand. It's the demand that is evil. The fact that you will give us your money or we will hurt you. It's just another mafia trick.
You're right. It is. That's absolutely what it is. It is the violence. Thank you for the call. As always, Jet, we appreciate you. It is the demand. They purport the authority to kill you if they show up and try to extract the money from you, and you disagree with them. They'll threaten to throw you in a cage first, and if you resist, they purport the authority to end your life because they didn't get their cut. 603-283-6160.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Everyone's always talking about buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. That's boring as hell. How about earning some Bitcoin? Getting paid with it? That's the way. It is money after all. If you want to earn Bitcoin at your business, AnyPay is the way to do it. Your customers will love it. Everyone in town will talk about your store being the Bitcoin store, and it's just fun. Get our free app and start earning Bitcoin at your business. AnyPayX.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It's the final segment of Free Talk Live. been a lively and interesting show, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
In the studio, I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me, it's
Mushmouth Mike
and Tyler.
And on March 16th, 2020, government agencies conspired together and raided the Free Talk Live studio, the Bitcoin Embassy, and the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Renee and Andy Spinella, and Colleen Fordham. These people are known as the Crypto Six. The Crypto Six were arrested and taken into custody, and Ian Freeman and Nobody, formerly known as Rich Paul, both remain in custody. What can you do to help? Check out thecrypto6.com. There are multiple ways in which you can donate to their legal defense fund because these charges are not a joke. It's going to take serious legal teams and many experts to protect the Crypto Six from further aggression from the state. This case will likely set precedent that will affect the world of cryptocurrency for decades to come. Help them in their fight for liberty and financial freedom by contributing to their legal defense fund at thecrypto6.com. One more time, thecrypto6.com. Thank you for your support.
And you could definitely donate in crypto.
Indeed, and if you
easy.
If you are a privacy buff, Monero is also being accepted for the legal defense fund. So you can do regular USD, FRNs, whatever you want to call it. There's a PayPal option for you over there as well. There's some additional information. There's some T-shirts that are available for purchase that the profits, of course, go to the defense fund. And that kind of a thing. And, you know, if you're too broke to help, that's fine. Just please share the crypto6.com on all your social media, and we would appreciate that. We've been talking about this article from Intellectual Takeout that says the income tax basically implies that government owns you. And we've talked a bit about that, but this next section speaks specifically about the payroll tax. It's extremely strange that the payroll tax is rarely considered in this debate. The poor, the middle class, and the rich are all being hammered by payroll taxes that fund failed programs that provide no security and few benefits at all. It's impossible to take seriously the claims that the income tax doesn't harm wealth creation when Congress wants to discourage something, smoking, imports, selling stocks, or whatever. They know what to do: tax it. Tax income, and on the margin, you discourage people from earning it.
That seems like common sense.
Yeah, but, you know, so those arguments get kind of tossed out the window about what good an income tax might be doing.
There's stories of people being like, oh, I don't want a new job where I'll make more because I'll get rid of my benefits, welfare and stuff.
Yeah, or I'll be in a new tax bracket, and then I'll make even less.
Right.
Because I've entered a new tax bracket. The tax debates are always about reform, which I actually take personal issue with whenever governments, any politician uses the word reform, because what they're saying is whatever it is they're trying to reform, they failed to do correctly in the first place. And so perhaps they shouldn't reform the thing, they should get rid of the thing.
Now it needs more fixing.
Which means more money to fix it. It always costs more.
Always.
More roads.
Which always means a slight shift in who pays what, reform that is, with an eye to raising ever more money for the government. A far better solution would be to forget the whole thing and return to the original idea of a free society. A free society in which you get to keep what you earn or what you inherit. Because that means nothing short of abolishing the great mistake of 1913. Forget a flat tax. That's the only just solution is no tax on incomes ever.
Yeah, legitimizing it, like delegitimizing that. You know, it's people have understood that it's okay to tax your neighbor for this thing or that. And because it's words on paper and people agreed to it, then it's okay. But it's not.
No, it's definitely not. Now, let's say that one day we actually become safe from income tax collections and something like, blessed peace arrives. There's still another problem that emerged in 1913. Congress created the Federal Reserve, which eventually developed the power to create all of the money that the government would ever need, even without taxation. For the practical running of the affairs of the state, the Fed is far worse than the income tax. It creates more insidious tax because it is so sneaky. In a strange way, it has made all of the debates about taxation superfluous. Denying the government revenue does nothing to curb its appetites for our liberties and our property. The Fed has managed to make it impossible to starve the beast.
Yeah, we're talking about the creature from Jekyll Island here, right? I just started reading that book to my 3-year-old.
Nice.
Very nice.
Well, it's like a kid's version. The Tuttle twins have a creature from Jekyll
Really?
Island.
Oh,
Yep.
maybe I'll borrow it when you're done.
Yeah, I'm learning things.
I might need the children's version to understand.
When 3-year-old brings a book to you, you're supposed to read it, and especially if it's this sort of positive propaganda.
Yeah.
Indeed. Chodorov was correct about the evil of the income tax. Its passage signaled the beginning of a century of despotism. Our property is no longer safe. Our income is not our own. We are legally obligated to turn over whatever our masters say we owe them. You can fudge this point. None of this is compatible with old liberal ideas of freedom. You doubt it? Listen to Thomas Jefferson in his inaugural address of 1801. What he said then remains true today. What more is necessary to make us happy and a prosperous people? Still, one more thing, fellow citizens, a wise, frugal government, which shall restrain men from injuring one another, shall leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Doesn't work out in practice. One of the funniest things, I wrote a paper on taxation for one of my college courses.
Yeah.
And looking up content for the essay, I looked up negative quotes about taxation.
Yeah.
Hundreds of quotes, witty quotes about how horrible taxation
Clever
is.
stuff,
Real
right?
clever
Yeah.
stuff, good stuff. I tried to look up positive quotes about taxation. I found one.
What was it?
Morose.
You've heard it before. Taxes are the price we pay to live in a civilized society.
God, no.
And it's so
No.
crazy.
Taxes are the price we pay to avoid going to prison or getting shot by the thugs who call themselves government.
Yep. And it's crazy that is the one quote that gets parroted by every statist that exists. They always say it, but it's just the price we pay. You know, it's the or even better, it's the social contract.
So
We
that's
have
their programming.
Yeah.
That's why they
Yep.
sort of parrot the same nonsense. I was once the programmed idiot like that. And
we all were at
and
one
there's
point.
hope for the
I
rest
was
of you out
too,
there,
that's
too.
Yeah.
I was, I guess, what you would call a constitutionalist, right? And this was because I was brought up in a few different versions of Christianity. I was a bit of an orphan, and I have several different sets of parents and foster parents and things of that nature. So, but most of them were of some sort of Christian faith. And what they would always do is go, well, what does it say in the good book? Right? So they'd always go back to this thing, this object, right, with words on it. And so that was my gut reaction to like politics, right? It's like, well, what does the document say? You know, some old guys a long time ago wrote a document and they said some stuff. And so if you're trying to figure it out, what does the document say? Does it say that's cool? All right, I guess it's cool. Does it say it's not cool? All right, I guess it's not cool, because we got to trust the document, right?
Right. Great on paper.
But it wasn't until somebody told me that document was just words written on a piece of paper, right? That I was like,
somebody on a psychedelic trip.
whoa, it really is.
We're talking about the Bible?
On a piece of paper.
Are you talking about the Constitution?
Well, that is a good question. I always tell folks that I became an atheist before I became an anarchist.
Interesting.
And to say I'm an atheist might even be a misnomer. I'm more of a non-theist than an atheist. And there's just a little bit of a distinction there. But I certainly sort of absconded religions, right? I believe religion is a personal thing, and if you're going to have one, it should be between you and whomever it is that you have a religion about, or whatever it is you have.
Preach on, Reverend.
Right? But outside of that, you know, I don't want dogmatic religion. I don't want a group of people getting together who are all of like the same religion and telling everybody what to do, because guess what that is? That's government.
Yeah,
sounds like the
that's all it
state.
is.
I had more to say, but we're out of time, sadly. We're here 7 nights a week, freetalklive.com if you've missed any of our episodes. Thank you to Mushmouth Mike. Thank you to Tyler for joining me tonight.
Happy to be here.
Peace.
Hey developers, do you want to add Bitcoin to your apps, website? Want to make something creative? AnyPay is the way. We made a super simple API just for you at anypay.dev. You don't need any special knowledge of Bitcoin. Plug it into your app or website and it just works. Get paid on the transactions your users make. Whether you're brand new to web development or have decades of experience, you can add Bitcoin to anything with anypay.dev.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.